Hello and welcome to this Rent Guarantor Investor Forum. My name is Tim Blythe and it's my pleasure to be your host. First of all, let's just welcome the Chief Executive. Paul, good to see you. How are you?
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Let's start with the first question, which is, what was the rationale for listing on the Aquis market?
Very good question. Primarily there's two reasons. The first one is obviously to allow the company to be in a position to raise capital should it require to do so. And I think for me the most important was to bring good governance to the business model that we actually want to roll out in the UK.
Given the current climate with interest rates, fuel and other commodities on the rise, it's probable that the number of people needing to rent is going to increase. Is Rent Guarantor targeting clients and companies with large rental portfolios?
Our model is predicated on single individuals making an application directly with us. However, in the last 12 months, we've had such an amount of inquiries from different entities like universities, local authorities, corporates. We've decided to try and scale that business in such a way that we can handle the model of growth over the next 12 months or so.
As the company continues to grow, how will you manage with the increase in applications? Will you be able to maintain the same-day response?
Well, our core business is predicated on technology, so therefore we've invested heavily in the technology over the last 12 months, particularly since listing. I don't believe that we're going to have any major problem in handling the volume and turning the applicant around in 4 hours. We've also had an addition to the team where we've onboarded an extra 6 customer-facing services people, so we should be well equipped to do that for the next 12 or 18 months or so.
You need to raise money to fund your growth strategy?
Well, currently the company is well capitalized. We have a strong balance sheet. We don't foresee at this point that we're going to need to go to raise substantial sums of money. So I think the answer is no at this point.
Do you plan to diversify your revenue stream? And if so, how?
Well, rent guaranteeing is always going to be the core business, and over the next 12 months that will, as I already said, is going to expand. We believe that we're in a business that we're providing services to tenants in particular, and therefore I think it goes as far as to say that we should be in a position over the next 12 months to release additional services that will benefit the tenant.
What is the timescale for Rent Guarantor becoming cash flow positive, and do you have any projections for profit and loss and cash flow?
So the direct answer is probably early 2023, certainly the first half of 2023. The growth that we've had during 2022 has been almost a doubling year on year, and I don't see any reason why that shouldn't continue into 2023 and beyond. So we expect to be in a very positive situation by mid-year of 2023.
How do you intend to build out your investor base to include institutions perhaps?
Well, right at the moment, our concentration is building the business out, getting the numbers right, getting the team set up, and maybe taking on some of the leads that we've been fortunate to acquire over the last 6 months or so. But clearly, in the long term, building out the investor base is really important to allow our share to trade, successfully. So, working with institutional investor, working with private investor, very important to us. So, I would see a series of roadshows coming about early in 2023, and in fact, we're currently planning some of those right now. So, it is on the cards to expand the model.
How do you remain competitive against other rent guarantee services?
Well, the 3 core things that we have as an advantage are that we service the whole of the UK property market. So tenants who are students, tenants who are in receipt of any sort of benefits from the government, or people who are in work. That is the core to the business, being able to service the whole of market. Being listed, I think, is also a key factor because it brings a very high set of governance to the business model, and it gives confidence for people to participate in what we do. And of course, being fully underwritten by Lloyd's of London is really the backbone of what it's all about, because our business model is predicated on giving security and guaranteeing. And of course, being backed with a brand name such as Lloyd's, it doesn't get much better than that.
What's your view of the current private rental sector in the UK, and what's its outlook?
Wow, what a question. I think on a personal level, I think the private sector is going through quite a lot of change. Some of it is needed. I think there are many different things that could happen, but I think it's fair to say that setting people up to fail is not a good idea. I think it's a fact of life that some people will want to rent. It's a choice that they will want to have. They don't want to own a home, so setting them up to buy homes is not the answer. What we need is more choice within the private rental sector outside of the current existing model. So I personally would espouse that we would look at things like having longer leases, 5, 10-year leases, 15-year leases, having a market where those leases might even trade, and the person who's using those leases as a method to secure a home finds themselves in a market of their own. So they're in a position where they can own a home, but not necessarily own a building. So for me, I think that there's many changes. It's a great time to be a landlord in many ways. I think to try and keep landlords within the model of the housing sector in the UK, I think there needs to be very little restriction put on the market, because it is a market. Markets find their own level, and I think for me it's about finding ways in which we can encourage landlords to stay, but at the same time accommodate the needs of the tenant with many different choices of tenancies that need to be brought about.
What is Rent Guarantor doing in terms of corporate responsibility?
I feel the business model is built fully around being a good corporate entity, socially as well as commercially. We currently work with all types of people who have CCJs, right down to IVAs. We are helping those who are in most need to get on the property ladder, albeit in a rental capacity. Without a guarantee, it's probably next nigh to impossible for these people to get on the property ladder. Obviously, they can get guarantees from parents and family, friends and members, but in some cases they're not able to act. So, we're already helping the most vulnerable within the housing sector right now.
Well, Paul, thank you for joining us on this Investor Forum. That was Paul Foy, Chief Executive of Rent Guarantor, and that was the Rent Guarantor Investor Forum. Thanks for watching.